Hello everyone and welcome back to Guild Wars 2! We are working on the rest of Chapter 3 of Living World Season 3. I decided just to pop all the footage down a bit, speed it up, and put it all in one. So it's actually only about a half hour instead of potentially like 2 hours, I think, of footage I cut down and sped up and whatever. So the first part is just trying to get up north high enough to where Jormog's influence is, and the whole premise is us trying to find if Zaitan or Morjamoth have influenced this at all. So we basically just head north for a while. The whole first part of this is just go north and see what's going on. That's kind of why I grouped all of these together, is because it was a very focused mission. And then our little side mission was, oh hey, maybe while we're up there we can find Braum, we can check in with him, see if he's noticed anything weird, see how he's doing, and if he wants to join the new guild that we're creating. Because that was something we had talked about back in the very early stages of this part of the story, was Destiny's Edge. Was it right to keep Destiny's Edge going, or should we make a new one? And so Retlock and your character decided a new one would be best going forward. So we wanted to go and ask Braum if he wanted to join. So this was far. This was far away. I didn't realize how far north the map went. I'm curious if this is what the newest Guild Wars 2 expansion setup is doing. It's Passage of Ice. I don't remember the name of it. It's something to do with ice though, so I would assume Jormog is the focus of it, although the goal right now is to see if we can knock out 2 dragons. Instead of 2 birds, 1 stone, 2 dragons, 1 stone, is kind of our goal at the moment. So we're trying to see how much of an influence is going on in the Snowlands with Jormog and the Ice Dragon. So the journey there is pretty uneventful. We don't really see much of anything. Like, we have to delve deep into the Icelands to get any sort of 411. Sorry for the distraction. That sounded like an electricity pop. Well, it sounded initially like a candle pop, but my candle not lit, so I don't know. Nothing smells and nothing. I don't know. Well, no, if I get up real quick though. We're still traveling north. And most of this video is sped up 8 times. Like, I wanted to convey how far we went, right? So we make it to the Bitterfrost frontier. And so now we have to go find this little settlement that's up there where I'm gonna call them polar bears and orcaquagons live. I don't really, it's the orcaquagons and the polar bears. I don't remember the polar bears' race name. It's not polar bears. Does it start with a K? I don't remember. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, polar bears. I don't remember what you're called. So we check in up top with the polar bears. We check in down below with the quagons. And the quaggon tells us we can dress up like a... I'm not going to remember their names either. They start with an S. But all of those dudes apparently have some form of elixir or way of sustaining in the cold, and so we can infiltrate them by dressing up like one of them and you know, asking and talking to them. And so we go through, we beat a ton of stuff up, we accidentally are near events, and we manage to eventually get our disguise in place. And once the disguise is in place, we can go up to their little hideout and ask nicely for the recipe, I think was our plan. I don't really know. We kind of just like stood awkwardly in the background of a conversation, and like the deal with these guys is that they don't talk very well, so the fact that I was just like, recipe, elixir, the dude was like, you talk? Like, you're smart enough to talk? Like, alright, cool, like, alright, sure, go collect these materials and then you can be my apprentice or something. Like, it was a hot mess. So they tell us what to go get, and we go get it, and that was a pain in the butt on its own because we had to travel to like 3 different parts of this map. Which in and of itself is fine. It's fine to travel the map and get to know it and whatever. It's just, it's a never ending. I already had to traverse the entire north. Now you're making me traverse this entire map. So it was a lot of running around. Which is why I decided to cut this video down as much as I did, because ultimately this was just a lot of gathering, this was a lot of talking, this was a lot of what is my accent doing right now? I don't live in a city, so it was just a lot of me traversing the landscape, and we know how good I am at traversing landscapes, so clearly flawless, obviously flawless traversing of terrain and everything. So there was no issue. There was really almost nothing to cut out. It took me like 30 seconds to get from place to place. No. this was a pain in my ass. It really. So there were like the lava tubes that were on the Ember Islands, except like ice lava tubes. I don't know. It was a little awkward. So we had to find like berries, griffin egg shells. We didn't need the griffin eggs. We just needed the shells of the eggs. So we had to go and get eggs from abandoned egg nests and put them in an incubator and then get the shells from the incubator. Of course, right? And we needed to go help, I think, the Scrit? Was it the Scrit we ended up helping with something to get? Like chicken feathers or something? I don't know. There was just a lot of nonsense going on at this point. Honestly, I was paying like half attention. I was just like, ugh. I was just doing what the map told me to do. I was just going where the green things were and collecting where the things were. It did once again coincide with some of the heart stuff, so that was nice. It is nice when you can get some of the map completion done and that little bit of extra experience. Because I am pretty close to the next mastery at this point in the video. The masteries are actually very helpful. It's just an odd mechanic. I don't actually know. I think this is Heart of Thorns masteries, I think, is what we're pulling from, because there's the the standard map masteries. There's the Heart of Thorns masteries. This one might be its own set of masteries. I don't remember off the top of my head. I really don't remember. But yeah, we're still gathering. Still gathering materials. We're almost done. We're almost there. And like I said, we were also doing the heart as well. This particular instance, the heart was a lot easier to do than the resource gathering. Oh god, I said resource gathering. Now that's in my head. Never ending resource gathering. What am I gathering at this point? I needed something from the monsters. The monsters dropped it, and they were... they were being unkind with their drop rates. So I was left to run back and forth in this area 1,100 times to try and get the things that I needed. And that little green bar was just slowly ticking, but we finally get it, and then we have to, okay, where do we go to cook this elixir? Well, we go to the hot springs. So off to the hot springs we go. And there was an event that was happening fairly frequently while I was running around this area, so I ended up stuck in this event a couple of times. I probably didn't, probably could have avoided it looking back on it, but it's so not necessarily easy, but it's nice to do events and try to get that extra experience. Some events, especially if there are other people around, or depending on what the event is, some are, you know, you can snake by with like a bronze or silver. Or even like if you fail the event, sometimes you still get a little bit of experience, so it was fine. And we had to gather Oh, I was doing the heart as well. I've been trying to do the hearts while I've been in the area, if it's not specifically... Even if it's not specifically, like, part of the quest or coincides with the quest, I've been trying to, because realistically, when am I going to be back at this area? So, I've been trying to... Because I did not do that on the standard map at all. I kind of was like, nah, fool, I level 80, I'm not doing shit. So we do our elixir cooking, we talk to Timey. Now that we have our elixir, we can go even farther north. Continue looking for an abomination, right? That's our biggest thing right now. Like, we're looking for the signs and clues, but like an abomination, I guess, is what we're prioritizing. I know words, I can talk. So it wasn't the most challenging of places to find, but it was not the easiest. There was a ton of baddies to go through, like just a ton of crap to get to the bitter cold. A ton. So then we're through, and it's chaos. It's just complete and utter chaos here. There are just bad guys everywhere. But there were also several hidden chests and goodies and things to find, and there were more of those blue orby experience things. And there were several baddies that, like, I did beat up, but, like, also I had no time for your shenanigans, so sayonara. I spent the most of my time just avoiding as many battles as I could, because I didn't want to mess with it. I just didn't. Like, I wanted to go through and play the story. I don't want to keep beating shit up. I know it's the game, but when you beat stuff up every foot, it's like, holy shit. So, like, I failed that first glide, right? And so I was like, ugh. So I tried again, ran past all this crap, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm a good enough glider to make that. Like, maybe there's another way. Because I saw some other rocks and stuff, so I was like, maybe there's a different way. So I was looking around and trying to figure out, like, the alternative route. I assumed there had to be an alternative route, right? Like, obviously I should be able to fly there from higher up or something. The moral of the story is not really. Not really. This is just a hot mess, and all these people on their freaking flying mounts just flying around like, oh, look at me. I know, the thing is that if you're playing through this game, you don't have a mount yet at this point in time. You have a glider. You don't have a mount, and the only way you fly is if, you gotta draft upwards. Like, that's it. I was finding all the treasure chests. Like, I don't know why all these treasure chests are here. I don't know what event happens here that all these treasure chests aren't necessary. Like, I don't know why this area is littered with like 5 or 6 treasure chests, and those are the ones I found. Like, so then I was like, okay, I'll try again, and sure enough, I did it. And then it was find Jormog's abomination, and we found those little plaguey bugs and undead bugs. So we're like, all right, well, clearly Zaitan and Mordor Moth have an influence here, right? So we have to kill the abomination, which in and of itself wasn't difficult. The difficult is that instead of it being a pattern boss, it was a puzzle boss, which I thought was very interesting. The only way to do damage to it is with the wormy things, the slugs. So you had to cause the bugs to blow up next to the monster, and that's how you defeated him. I think I ended up dying though, and had to do it over, which was fine once I knew, like, okay, that's what we had to do, because I was making the mistake of killing the bugs too fast. So I would teleport over to the bugs using my stealth teleport, and so the monster wouldn't track me over there necessarily, and so I would sometimes kill the bugs before the monster would be there, so then it was a waste of blowing up the bugs. But they respawned all the bugs and everything when I went back in. So take 2. I think it only took me 2 takes, and so this time I was really a lot more like luring him into the middle of the bugs so that I could do the most damage to him possible. So you could see there I was kind of like hanging back and actually waiting for myself to turn off before I started attacking. So that meant I wasn't getting the damage bonuses I usually get, but I was doing more damage to him because he was there when the bugs died, which was the most important thing. And once you got that figured out, like, he went down pretty quickly. Like, if you got him in range of multiple bugs exploding simultaneously, like, it went really fast. So then we check in with them and we tell them, you know, kind of what we found, and that, you know, we didn't find any survivors of their companions, of their villagers or anything like that. If we did, they've already been corrupted by Seitan, Mordermoth, Jormog nonsense. And so then we're off to find Bram, and we also asked, like, oh hey, where can we find Mr. Bramalam? And they're like, well, there's a cave over there. And so we go in this cave, and I'm like, he's been in here this whole fucking time? Like, are you shitting me right now? He's been in this tiny little cave. I've been going off on this freaking better cold. Like, I could have just done this nonsense first. No, I understand why it's last. Like, so Bram is after a legendary weapon, I guess would be the best way to put it. He is after a bow. So we decide, oh yeah, we'll help, like, no issue, like, whatever, like, we're trying to just be helpful, like, we're trying to care for our friend, and he's got a lot of resentment, he's got a lot of grief and emotions and stuff he's dealing with. He was overall very pissed off at the idea of creating a new guild and not continuing Destiny's Edge. Like, well, so what? You're just forgetting about the legacy of my mom? And he was like, no, like, I'm taking out Tormog. Like, that's my goal now. Like, I'm getting this arrow. I'm going to, the Nord legend is that they have this giant statue tooth thing in the middle of their great hall, and when you fracture it, or the person that fractures it is like, it's destined to take out Jormog, essentially. Like, this dragon is just a whole mess of their lore and their way of life. So where Rox is very much trying to, you know, she's Bram's friend, she's our friend. Like, it's very, she must be put in a very hard spot at this point. But we end up helping him get his bow. Like, we don't take that from him at all. Like, we're not, and he kind of just didn't want us there. Like, he's feeling it right now, right? Like, he's just like, nah. He's like, nah to us, which is annoying, but it is what it is. And he's putting a lot on himself, which understandable, but also like, really? You don't have to. But he feels he does. So, and so yeah, it was just a lot of going through this cave, you know, venturing deeper, talking about, you know, what we found out and how the dragons are affecting each other, and how, you know, Jormog and the fire dragon are both starting to become active. And, you know, telling them about the abomination and the influences and stuff, and that, you know, our plan is to try and wipe out both dragons together, or have them take out each other. Maybe have them take out each other is what we wanted to accomplish. Or there's some kind of brilliant idea that Taimi's got going on in her head that she thinks is gonna work. Which, I mean, after the living world is Path of Fire, so I have a sneaking suspicion we just go after, like, in the first living world, or technically season 2 living world, it was all a build up to Heart of Thorns and fighting Mordermoth. Like, there wasn't really any true dragon fight. It was just all build up, all transition over. This is a lot quicker pace. This is a lot more progressing the story in a very quick fashion. If we actually end up fighting a dragon in the living world, I would be kind of surprised. That feels like a pretty big gap for something you buy out of essentially the gem store versus like paying for an actual expansion pack. Because as of right now, the expansion packs are Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. And the Living World seasons you purchase through the gem store. Like, you don't actually, you purchase each one individually. Like, you don't even really, I mean, I'm sure they have bundles once in a while, but like, I didn't purchase them as a bundle. I purchased them, like, I purchased the gems, and the gems were a bundle, and then you paid them with your gems. So it was one of those things where having significant storylines in them seemed surprising to me. So this whole thing with Bram and the bow, like, very similar to Marjorie and her swords. I kind of understood that it's progressing their character development, it's progressing their character story, it's leveling them up for the next expansion. So I'm curious to see how, you know, we've talked about the fire dragon, we've talked about the ice dragon, we've talked about their influences on each other. So there's still a few more chapters. I really don't know where we go from here. But let me talk about this battle for a minute. This was a pain. I knew it was some sort of pattern, but I couldn't figure out how... I couldn't figure out what his weakness was, or what the goal was with this. So that we just literally saw happen. He smushed the ice, and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to have him try to smush the ice. And so obviously, like, I had just been accidentally having him run through the ice, like, just me and being my usual dodgy self. And so there was one more ice left, and I couldn't get him to run over it. And I was like, of course, I've accidentally gotten this asshole to run over all the other ice chunks on accident. And the one time I want him to do it on purpose, he won't do it. And I kept trying all these different angles, and I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? And like, I kept trying to line it up, and he would just keep stopping. And I'm like, how? Like, just do it. And like, you can see his little like orange pathing. It'd be next to it, or like he would stop at the ice lump. He wouldn't actually run over the ice lump. And then finally he did, and we could get the scroll, or Bram could get the scroll, whatever. So the moral of the story was that I just was not supposed to defeat this guy. Like, Bram was supposed to get his bow first, and then he could shoot it with his little fire bow and be all happy, right? Like, I was doing no damage to this guy. Like, it was pretty much just Bram's battle, which I thought was an interesting element. Like, and this is what they did in the standard game too, where like, it wasn't just your hero's battle. Like, it was everybody's battle. And so to make this Bram's battle, like, he's the one that got this bow. He's the one that, like, defeated the monster. Like, it was his battle. I was the sidekick for it. And it's just one of those things where he never feels like the sidekick. Or he never feels like I'm actually the sidekick. Like, even if I'm there, it's not there to help him. It's there to further my own needs. Which, honestly, at this point, it really wasn't. Like, at this point, I was trying to just be there for him. And I gave Rox permission to, you know, go with Bram. And then we see him shoot the ice tooth. And then that's the end of the chapter. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Have a great day.